It's time to laugh, learn, and take your photography to the next level with your favorite cowgirls with cameras, Kara, Kim, and Phyllis.
Welcome to the Cowgirls with Cameras podcast. I'm Kim with Kim Beer Photography and Be More Business.
I'm Kara with Fast Horse Photography.
And I'm Phyllis with Phyllis Burchett Photo. Hello.
Hi. I
Good
was saying,
morning.
welcome
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Good morning. I've already
Welcome
seen y'all
back.
for like 2 hours now, but that's okay.
It hasn't been that long. You're
Okay.
like, we
Well,
must
it
not
feels
be
that long.
we must not be that entertaining. Time is not flying because Phyllis is having fun this morning, Kara.
Oh, boy.
We've slowed Phyllis down. So yeah. Oh goodness. So, we wanted to take a minute to talk a little bit about our community. Our community's birthday. Let's see. When did we launch that? We're about 2 months in.
I think we're right about 2 months.
Yeah.
It was during Art of the Cowgirl is when it went
Yeah.
officially launched. So
Yeah, so first part of March
month.
and yeah.
It's
So
been a month.
no,
it's
when
been
this
longer
episode
than-
airs, it's going to be more like 2.
Okay. All right. I didn't know we
Yeah.
were talking into the future. I missed
We are. We're technically have been transported to
into
the
the
future.
future.
I
Gotcha.
do believe this particular episode is going to come out on May 20th, so we'll have been a little over 2 months,
2 months.
by that point, that the community has been open to anyone who would like to join. And I have to say, I am delighted and happy and ecstatic and just over the moon with the people who have joined and how much fun this whole experience has been and is continuing to be as it goes along. So, what do you guys think about it?
I mean, this has been something we've talked about for a long time. Wanting to do is to create more community and create community space for people in the Cowgirls with Cameras network. And so I'm just really proud of it, and I'm really proud to see all the photographers in there interacting and participating. And I was thinking about how when we first opened it, we had over 7 hours of video education, that covered a big span of from getting started to more advanced stuff, but we're also adding stuff all the time. And I was thinking about how it's just slowly growing and how the people that are in the community are helping shape, what's being created, like what they need. So, for example, I just added a bunch of posing prompts for photographers, and that was spawned from people wanting more of that. So I think I don't know, I love the community. I love where it's going. So
I do too. I do too. What about you,
Ye-
Phyllis?
I'm feeling kind of, I feel bad that I haven't contributed as much as you two have. You guys have been so good about putting new material in, and I think I've only put a couple in. So, but I need to make it a point to do that. But yeah, I think it's great. I think it's even great. I have gone in and looked at some of the answers to questions you ask everybody. And
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
cool that when you ask, like, do you have anything you can contribute or that you feel like you'd like to contribute? And I think that's really nice that some people, and I'd like to pull them in more too, is to get more of our of our members to contribute. Like I know that one gal yesterday is actually a gal that I met at HP talking about HP, Jessica O'Connor. And she is a really good event photographer. And I think maybe even having a section for just event photographers would be something, and gosh, Kim, your thing with your business thing, gosh, everybody was raving about that. So I think there's so much good information in there that people need to take advantage of that maybe haven't even realized how much great material is in there. So yes.
I know some of the comments have really warmed my heart. So I developed this little tool called the Action Canvas. I'm very into canvases. If you're around me for very long, you will meet a canvas. But because I love visual business planning, and Rusty left a wonderful comment on there about how she appreciated, this type of way of approaching the business planning and getting goal setting and all of that kind of stuff. So, and it just the comments and stuff, it just warmed my heart. And I love talking about business and photography. So, definitely more things will be coming from me in the very near future to put into the community where you can work on business and skill set. And then also just the conversations people have back and forth with each other. Everyone is so helpful. I mean, that's the thing I love about the people we get to hang out with. They're incredibly helpful with each other. They answer questions, they want to be supportive,
Mhm.
they talk, and then we have our weekly shooting challenge, which Kara has to remind me to post every Monday afternoon. I'm still not in a habit yet of posting it, but it's so much fun to see the images that come through that as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, if anyone's out there and they're interested and they want to check it out, just head to cowgirlswithcameras.community. There is a free space you can go in and preview. Just pop in and look around. We'd love to see you just come in and say hello and look around a little bit.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are on to our topic for this particular episode, which is about um taking care of your gear. So, it's about keeping your gear in good working order and getting the most out of it cuz you spend a lot of money on the stuff that's in your camera bag, and we definitely want it to last and we want it to be good and working at its peak condition in order to be able to take the best images that we can. In other words, we don't want our equipment to be the reason why we're not getting a good photo. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about some daily practices for keeping your gear in good working condition. Phyllis is going to fill us in on a couple of programs from Nikon and Canon. I'm sure there is an equivalent for Sony in some capacity, but they're professional services. For those of you who are not familiar with that, we find a lot of people don't know about these programs. So, Phyllis is going to fill us in a little bit on that. And then Kara is going to talk about when you know that you need to upgrade your gear. Like, what are you looking at when you need to upgrade? So, for me personally, the I used to take my gear to be cleaned locally. Like, I had a guy in Overland Park, Kansas, and I would drive to his place and I would hand him my gear, and then I would anxiously go eat a hamburger or something and wander around until I could get it back. And he was very kind to be able to get it cleaned in that point. And I remember him, he would he would basically chastise me every time I brought my gear in about how dirty it was. Like, and I'm like, he's like, "Your gear is dirt," and then I'm like, "I clean my gear every time I put it into the camera bag, but I photograph horses." And I remember him saying, "You shouldn't take this camera into dusty environments." And I'm like, "Well, here's the deal. Dust and horses kinda go together." So, a lot of the equine photographer's gear, you're putting your gear in what would be considered an extreme circumstance. Not only that, we are often in extreme temperature circumstances where we're either where it's very cold or where it's very hot. We also shoot in areas that tend to be in a wide range of situations where you have humidity. I know the three of us live in very humid climates, and humidity can definitely affect the working condition of your equipment. So, keeping your gear clean and being mindful of the amount of dirt that we get ourselves into in any specific day is really important. And um, I have a practice of always wiping my camera down before I put it in my bag. I will kind of like hit the lens with a lens cloth when I get it out, but I always try to put my camera into my bag after having been dusted off to reduce the amount of dust that accumulates inside of my camera bag, because that dust is, I think, actually more damaging than the dust that you run into in the environment where you're shooting at. So, very important, keep your gear clean, make sure you're hitting all the little crevices. A lot of times I will take a Q-tip and go over my gear and just get the dirt out of it. So much of dust, it's like so fine and it creeps into things. more expensive cameras are sealed better and meant to be in those conditions versus less expensive cameras. So the higher end professional gear is better able to handle all of the extremes that we ask of it than some of the consumer level gear is. So please understand that. That said, I have gear that have little rubber strips on it and dirt gets up underneath there. So just every once in a while, pull your gear out and do a deep dive clean. And then you're going to want to send your gear in on occasion. Okay. A couple of other things that drive me crazy and that you need to be cognizant of to keep your gear in good condition. One, put your lens hood on. We we just talked about that last episode. Please use your lens hood. And again, if you're on one of our events, we will call you out. We're not. It
It's like the hill
really
we're gonna die
does.
on.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely the hill we're all dying on, but it does keep your gear from getting scratched. It really keeps your gear in good working condition. Not only that, it improves the quality of the image that you produce. So that's number 1. The number 2 thing that I see photographers do that causes me to literally have a panic attack is they leave their camera body open. Like, they'll take their lens off, and then they just dilly-dally for even, like, 3 or 4 seconds before they put the lens back on, and I am, like, having a panic attack every time I see that because 'cause I'm like, "Do you realize how dirty it is out here?" And there's, like, dirt and dust flying everywhere, and that is going directly inside your camera, and I don't care if you have a sensor cover, the newer cameras have these nice, cool, like, sensor cover things. Still, dirt gets inside that camera, and then when you put the lens on and you open that back up again, it falls in on top of your sensor. So your sensor is it's your camera's heart. And when you get dirt and dust on it, it degrades your image quality and it can cause you hours of editing to get sensor dirt off of an image that you absolutely love. And not only that, it's very meticulous, boring editing. It's not the fun kind of editing. So your sensor is important. Please be mindful of it at all points in time. If you want your gear to last and you want it to shoot well into the future, make sure that you're very cognizant of where you change your lenses. If you, have the lens off of the camera for any length of time, get a body cap on the camera, get your lenses changed quickly, try to do it in the least dirty environment. I have watched on occasion some of our students in the very dusty back seats of Suburbans as we float across the world that are covered in inches of dirt, just, like, open their camera and flip open the back of the Suburban, and it causes me to have minor heart conditions. So, anyway, keep your body caps on, keep the body cap clean, like, just be aware. Having a dust blower helps. The little poofy ones you can put in your camera bag are great. Dust is one of the biggest enemies of everything in your camera bag. So eliminating it is important. Also get familiar with what the common error codes are for your camera. So Canon has some really common ones that'll pop up, and a lot of times it's because the camera doesn't have a good connection to the lens. And again, it's because of dust. So make sure you know what those error codes are and the ones that are truly fatal and the ones that aren't for your specific camera model because it'll help you understand what's going on and maybe fix the problem in the field. When it comes to your cards, and I'm gonna move on from the camera gear itself and the lenses, um, by the way, your lens is also calibrated, so understand that they do fall out of calibration, with continued use, and you do need to get them calibrated every once in a while. But the other thing that I wanna mention here before I send it over to Phyllis is the formatting your cards. So just like we wanna keep our gear free of debris to keep it in good working condition, we also wanna keep our cards free of fragments and to keep them in good working condition. So once you have cleared your card, you have all your backups made, and you're really ready to reuse that card, when you put it into your camera, format it in your camera. That rewrites the file allocation tables and it sorts everything back out so it writes in a really nice linear fashion and you don't get a lot of fragmented little data pieces that you technically have erased but aren't being written over correctly, it really does extend the life of your cards. And with these using these newer high-end cards that are a little pricier than past cards, that's really beneficial to keep those lasting for a really long time. And it also really cuts down on
Mhm.
the amount of corruption that you can get inside of a card. What am I
Mhm.
forgetting? What is another good daily practice other than formatting your cards and being a dust chaser? Y'all
Can't
are
think of
lost.
anything else.
No, I mean, I'm the worst about just dropping everything in the bag and saying I'll clean it when I get back to
Mm,
wherever we're at.
yeah.
I do think that what you're saying about if you're taking your camera bag with you, like not transferring that dust into your bag is nice so that it's not kind of gritting around in there.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I was
keep
looking.
your bag zipped.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big one for 2 reasons. 2
Yeah.
reasons to keep everything inside clean. Second reason is don't pick it up and then realize it's not zipped and everything falls out.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I've been there before too.
Been there, done that.
But
Have the t-shirt. Don't want to do it again.
I was, looking at your notes here and you said vacuum your bag out often. I'm like, "Oh gosh, I have never vacuumed my bags."
I
I mean,
do.
But
I vacuum
turned
it.
it
I take the
over.
shop back to
oh,
it.
yeah, maybe turn it over.
Kara turned it over and shook it out.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even know
The
if I've
other
done
one thing
that.
I would say is, I use a harness and I know you guys use harnesses sometimes too.
Yeah.
I know Phyllis uses one regularly.
Oh,
I
yeah,
would
check your
say
screws.
try to make sure, yeah, like make sure that you're using a safety strap and that it's attached in the right spot and that you're also being careful, like those things are hanging on our bodies and I can get really kinda loosey goosey about letting them bang around if I'm not careful. So, I have noticed that I definitely have damaged connections and gear just by by moving around
Whacking them
because I've
into
got that,
stuff.
yeah, like, I've got that extra camera hanging on me. So, try to have a plan for getting up and down and how you're gonna move safely with your cameras because I've definitely ruined gear that way.
I laugh at you with your make sure it's hooked to the right spot because
I
isn't
wasn't
that a
gonna call anyone out.
Oh, I think we
I
all know who you're
I
talking
definitely
about.
wasn't gonna call out the person that had her safety strap attached to
The
the little
the
piece
pole.
that, yeah, the release handle. I never in my life that about, like, made me laugh so hard.
It's called senior moments.
I wish I would've taken a picture of it because I
No.
would've posted it and been like just that little piece have been like, "What's wrong with this
Oh.
picture?"
Oh gosh.
Oh,
Oh,
That
so
geez.
is
good.
that was a good moment.
Well,
That was a good
in that
moment.
vein also, of course, I have different is make sure that where you do have things connected that they're tight. I mean, a lot of
Yeah,
times you
yeah.
think something's on good and
Check those
yeah,
pieces. Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
And even check your lens every once in a while
Mm,
to make sure it's all the way turned in.
mm.
Like, I've had lenses just literally fall off of my camera.
Oh gosh.
And it's yeah, it's very disheartening when that
Mhm.
happens, but when you're shooting and you're doing a lot of zooming in and zooming out and you're holding your camera, you sometimes hit that little button and you knock it just enough loose. So just every once in a while, like, develop an almost OCD habit of checking the connections to your lenses and also checking where those screws are that are holding them onto your camera harness. I do agree. And the safety straps are important even though they drive me crazy because they never stay where I want them to stay. I'm always fighting with them, but
Well,
I've had lenses fall apart and cameras fall off of harnesses. I mean, they're definitely
I had
required.
someone say to me one time, "You've got," I think at the time it was like $8,000 worth of gear on your body, and you're using a $25 camera harness to hold it together." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "You're right." So there's something to be said for,
Mm.
that piece that's holding your gear to your body, whether it be a camera strap, you know, I mean, there's something to be said for that. I mean, now we're probably carrying upwards of $10,000 worth of gear on our bodies when we're walking around between both cameras, and backup gear. And we're,
Yeah.
make sure that the pieces that are holding that onto you are good quality pieces too. Don't skimp at that juncture.
And
Don't know.
also I've
Yeah.
I've seen some people that do have a good harness, but they've got it hooked to their camera body instead of having it like if you have a lens foot, hook that piece of
Yes.
hook
That's
it
a
to
really
the
good piece of
yeah.
advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hook it to your lens foot, not to your because I have had back years ago, which I know sometimes we have to hook them to our if we're using a wide angle or something, you're gonna hook it to your camera. But, I had this happen years ago. I had my harness on uh, the camera I was using for my wide angle, so it was on the camera, and I have brackets. I have L brackets on mine because I've done a lot of landscape and wildlife photography, so I put them on a tripod, but, I had used this so much and it had hung off my body for so long that it had actually pulled part of the frame of the camera apart. So,
Wow.
yes, so it can happen.
I've
Yeah.
And I've had it happen to where that little screw hole in the bottom of the camera,
Mhm.
especially with the heavier bodied cameras. This
Mhm.
happened to me with a whatever the equivalent at the time was of like the 1D, the bigger, heavier Canon camera. That camera just its sheer weight with that little thing in the bottom of
Mhm.
it and it being turned upside down, it like
Yeah.
completely stripped and pulled that out.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it is very
Wow.
important to use your lens mount, and if you're one of those people that it's the very first thing you do when you get a lens is you take the lens mount off. If your lens has a lens mount, that is where you put your point for your harness. So dig through your
Mm.
box, get it back out, put it back on your lens, and use the lens mount the
The
for
collar.
your
It's a
for being able
collar.
to
Yeah.
hold it on your
Yeah.
harness, yeah. Not only that, it's much better for your body part that it's
Mhm.
hanging off of because it's at a physics tipping point that makes sense. I don't know how to explain that in any other way because I suck at physics, but
Oh, it just balances better. It has a better
balance is
There's
balance.
a
better.
reason
I
it's
like
there.
that.
Yeah.
It's a reason it's there.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. All right, Phyllis, would you fill us in? So one of the things that I wanna say in taking good care of your
Every
gear
time you
is
say
it
fill
should
us, will you fill us in? It drives me it, like, makes me it triggers something in me that, like, makes me wanna say something. I have to just get it out.
All
I'm
right.
done.
Well, Phyllis, will you please talk about where you send your gear if you want to send it into Nikon Professional Services or Canon Professional Services? And I like Phyllis fill us in.
Fill us
Yeah, it's
in.
just a little on the nose,
Okay.
you know?
Okay. Hi, I'm Phyllis, and I'm going to fill you in.
It's a little punny.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about professional services that are offered by camera companies. And uh, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a premium membership program that offers specialized support and benefits to, I would say, professional photographers and videographers using their, of course, respective camera systems. But I know that you don't have to be a pro. If you have enough, even if you're a very enthusiastic hobbyist and you have the gear that can get you in, you just have to have enough gear and the right gear to get in. You don't have to be a pro to get into these programs or pay to get in, but they're designed to basically, they were designed to keep pro photographers working when they're on jobs and stuff by offering fast repairs, loaner gear, maintenance and cleaning services, along with exclusive access to other things. But I've only personally had to take advantage of Nikon's repair service once with a 14-24 millimeter that I unfortunately dropped on concrete when I was photographing the night sky in Atlanta years ago. My rep that I had at the time was able to get it expedited, the repair and completed and back to me, like literally within like the day it got shipped to them. They worked on it and they shipped it right back to me. It was, and if I'd had to pay, if I hadn't had that service, it would have taken me way longer to get that done. I also had another friend that told me about NPS saving the day with them when they were on a job in Alaska. They were actually hosting a tour, a coastal brown bear tour, and one of their cameras got damaged, and NPS overnighted him a loaner so that he could keep working. And I think that's pretty cool that you have that option to get that kind of service. So should you join, if you don't plan on keeping your camera bodies current within a few years, or if you can handle an equipment failure with whatever's available at a rental house, you probably can avoid the cost of getting into a pro support system. But if you have the gear and you already meet their requirements for these programs, or a camera or lens malfunctioning would come with significant penalty to your reputation and finances, then joining up with your brand's pro services is most definitely worth it. The pros, not only my colleagues here, but other pros I've spoken to said that the fees and cost of keeping gear up to date is worth it for the benefits of regular service and fast repairs. Just know
And
that
peace of mind,
yes,
honestly.
yes, definitely peace of mind. Just know that you'll likely be faced with a decision down the line to upgrade your gear or risk it depreciating in points. Because I know Nikon and Canon both they work on a point system for what your gear is worth, and you may age out of eligibility. I know that. I think I've talked about I have two. Well, I actually have three mirrorless, and I still have two of my old DSLR cameras. Well, those one of those DSLR cameras has aged out, so it's not eligible anymore. I'm pretty much Canon and Nikon offer very similar services for or for photographers through their NPS, their programs. Benefits like expedited repairs, loaner equipment, priority access to new products. You'll get notified of any new products that are coming out and have access to buy those, to purchase those before the general public does. You get event access, member only webinars and launch events. I know we do. I assume Canon does too, but priority purchase delivery. You get great support, priority repairs, repair equipment loans, e- uh, equipment loans if you're on a job and you have something fail and you need it quickly. You also have access to send in your equipment for maintenance and cleaning services at no charge. Uh, I know Canon offers a mentors course. They also have repair service discounts. And the platinum level, which is what I'm on, receives a purchase discount. They actually paid for my membership last year because I bought a
Wow.
very expensive piece of gear. So I got money back on that. I know for Nikon, and I think Canon's pretty similar, you must own at least two or more qualifying digital cameras along with two or more qualifying lenses. Uh, Nikon comes in three different tiers. There is Nikon and Canon both have a free tier that, like I think Canon's called the silver. I think ours is just called the pro level.
We
I'm
have
not sure.
silver, gold, and platinum.
Yeah, yeah,
I think
and
there's a
ours.
bronze in there somewhere too.
Yeah,
There might be.
I just looked it
Yeah.
up, and I'm just reading what it showed on their website. For a Nikon, it's a free pro level, a pro plus, and a platinum, with varying degrees of service. And the Canon, it's silver as well as a gold and platinum. And then
Yeah.
there's another one on top of that that costs like 1,000 a year, which is for people that are doing videography for
Mm.
Canon. I know Fuji and Sony have very similar programs. They also, I think theirs are paid though. I'm not sure that they have a free level. But, yeah, and of course, their services are very similar too. But yeah, I think if you have qualifying gear that you should at least get in there and get on the free service at least. Yes. That's all I got, y'all.
Well, I mean, I'm literally have boxes sitting here that I need to open from Canon that I
Oh,
just
that's
sent my
right.
gear.
You just
I
sent
just
yours
sent my
off.
gear
Yep.
to CPS, and I've used it once or twice a year, every year for the last probably 5 years. And I've only had one experience that wasn't great, but I think it saved me a lot of money. And it's honestly the peace of mind because I start to get where I haven't had anybody look at my cameras in a year, and I start to think, oh, those images, some of those images are kind of blurry. Maybe something's wrong with my lens. And I have had experience. I had an experience of using a faulty lens about 2 years ago now, and it shook me because I was at paid session and it like
Oh,
shook everything about my confidence.
yeah.
So I'd like to have someone take a look at everything and make sure that it's working correctly. It just gives me peace of mind. So I'll be opening these boxes today and setting everything back up again for a
Mhm.
shoot this weekend. And
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
and that is another thing too is if you don't wanna send your equipment in, like you're scared, like
Yeah.
some people I know, to ship your really expensive cameras, but, A lot of, like, imaging, there'll always be reps there from all the major camera companies, and they'll, be offering cleanings and services and imaging, and at a lot of some of the other, camera, photography conferences, there was almost always reps from the major camera companies there, so
Yeah. And I had someone give me this advice a couple years ago, but I always keep all my boxes from my
Mm.
cameras. So
I do
when
too.
I
Yes.
yeah, so when I do ship things to Canon, I do repackage them in their boxes and then put that inside of a box. So I feel
Mhm,
pretty safe about shipping things now, especially when I can put them back in their original boxes and I feel like they're
mhm,
in there really well.
yeah.
So, yeah. Sometimes they accidentally send me back extra batteries and lens
Who's
caps too. So,
They
that's like
did.
a little bonus. Like, oops, I left a battery in here. It's mine now.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about when it might be time to replace or upgrade your gear. Kim and Phyllis have done a good job about talking about how to keep your gear living and get the most out of it. But there are times when, it's just time to you got to do it. You got to make an upgrade, and it's for multiple reasons. But let me tell you first of all, when it's not time to upgrade your gear, when you're having gear envy, when Canon or Nikon or Sony or Fuji or whoever sends you an email saying, "We've got a new piece of gear available," doesn't mean you
Hmm.
need to upgrade. When your photography friends get new gear, you do not
Oh.
need to get new gear.
Oh, you don't?
Nope, not
No,
every
you
single
do.
time.
Like, really? I
Yep.
think that's like the primary reason.
I was gonna say, isn't it
It's
FOMO?
like the
FOMO,
number
yeah.
one reason. That's like the
Uh,
biggest sales feature.
When your current gear is still totally adequately meeting your needs and has nothing wrong with it, you don't need to get new gear. Not saying you shouldn't or that you can't, just saying you don't need it. And when you really sit down and look at the benefits of getting that new gear versus what it's going to cost you, like, especially if you're a business owner, like kind of thinking through some of that, um, that would just be something to think about because I have certainly been guilty of when my friends get a new piece of gear, I think I need it. Or when Canon sends me the email that there's something new out on the market and I want to try it. I have been guilty of that. Was it always the best financial decision? Probably not. So just think that through. Okay. There are lots of reasons, though, that it might be time to replace or upgrade your system. The first one that I think is pretty important is when your gear starts to limit your technical or creative output. So if your camera, for example, is just, maybe it can't handle the ISO ranges that you need for the job, the autofocus speeds, are not where you need them to be, or maybe the resolution demands for the client print work you need to create are just not working for you. I think about things like, we some of us have to shoot low light events like indoor arenas. If there's a camera out there that can do a better job than the one you're using, then you might want to look into that. Or maybe you want to start shooting video and the cameras that you have just they don't offer a good quality video option for you or an easy option for you. So it's time to upgrade to something that really works for you. Um, or maybe you want to print something. You're suddenly starting to put your work into print and you've got some projects coming up that you know are going to be really large scale print work jobs. So maybe you need something that offers higher resolution images. So I think in those types of situations, upgrading becomes really important and you should start thinking about how to stair step your way into something that'll get you where you need to be. Also, other reasons that it might be time are things like your shutter life, or the mechanical failure of your gear. Shutters do have a finite lifespan. They can be anywhere between like 150K to 500K. They say actuations. I'd say clicks, depending on the model that you have. And when you send your camera gear out, like to Canon, for example, they'll send you back a report that tells you how many where your camera is at in terms of that, which is really nice. Now they also can make that repair. They can replace your shutter. All of that can be
Mhm.
repaired.
Shut up.
So you don't have to replace your camera gear just because your camera the mechanics of your camera are reaching their lifespan. It's just like a car. You can have a piece of your car replaced and it still keeps going. So you can do the same thing with your camera gear. Okay, so outdated technology starts affecting your efficiency. So that might be another reason. So, for example, newer camera systems offer dual card slots, which could be really important if you're shooting, and you cannot afford to lose those images. So you might want to be able to double write onto multiple memory cards in your camera as backup. If you need improved battery life, maybe faster processors, you need to reduce anywhere you can reduce your workflow friction. If it can make your life easier and speed up your delivery process, it might be worth the upgrade. I've certainly upgraded for that reason. I would also say that in terms of like mirrorless cameras, the EVF in the mirrorless camera, it allows for that real time preview of exposure and focus settings. And I think that can be really helpful in various shooting scenarios. It kind of gets you there faster sometimes and allows you to just make changes a lot quicker, and just get you where you need to be a lot quicker sometimes. And then a couple other things that I was thinking of when I think about like a lot of the photographers that we work with and some of the reasons that they've upgraded or changed out gear. One of those is the weight of the camera itself. Life changes and sometimes you just want or need to carry something lighter. So newer gear can be lighter weight. I know a lot of the new mirrorless cameras and the lenses are lighter weight. I feel like my gear is pretty heavy, but I've seen people change out to like Sony, for example, because the gear's just smaller and lighter weight and they don't want to carry so much. So those are the reasons that I have that you might want to replace or upgrade your systems. Am I missing anything?
I
Tax
don't
write-off? I don't know. Like you just need to spend money at the end of the year. I have no
I don't
Let's all hope we have that problem.
Let's all hope we
I
have that
don't
problem.
yeah. I don't think you're missing anything, but one thing that came to mind when you're talking about actuations,
Mhm.
that 150 to 500K is like, I'm just thinking about how many actuations my camera shoots a lot on its own without me
Oh,
telling it
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And I was just curious if there was some way that those could be subtracted or like it could go into the total.
I
Like
don't think
these
that
these
works.
are operator and these are camera, actuations.
Yeah, I think the actuation is an actuation is an actuation. I will say about the actuations though, I shutters do have a finite lifespan, but I can tell you I have cameras that are on like 2 and 3 shutters. So I have gone
Mhm.
through that many. It's another reason to use those professional service
Mhm.
organizations is because when you send it in and they say, "Hey, your camera has 250,000 actuations on it. It might be time to replace this particular part. It's wearing
Yeah.
out." They can replace it and it
Mhm.
works. I have 2 5Ds. I think one is on the 3rd one and one is on the 4th one. So, and I don't shoot with those cameras anymore. They're lovingly in my closet as good friends in their retirement zone. But they both went through multiple shutters. One of them came to me used, so that was the reason for that. But the other
Well,
one, I put all those miles on it.
so to someone too that is looking to buy used gear, knowing
Yeah.
kind of what that lifespan of that shutter is or the mechanics of that is really helpful because they show a lot of that when you're looking at used gear. If you're buying it from like a place that actually is a company that sells used gear, it's
Mhm.
nice to have that information.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
but
that's
know that if you buy it from an individual, they're not gonna know that
Yeah.
unless they
Yeah.
just send it in because I don't know about Nikon, but Canon, that is proprietary. It has to be
Mm.
one of their certified techs to be able to know how many
Mm.
actuations are on a shutter.
That's good to
Like, an
know.
average person cannot look up and see.
Oh.
There's yeah,
you
I
you
don't know.
can't
Does
well,
Nikon let
you
you see?
no, you there was a way to do it on the DSLRs, and I'm not sure about the mirrorless, but I know I could do it on the DSLRs. Yeah.
Hmm. So, one other thing I was thinking of in terms of the shutter, we had someone recently ask us, or I had someone recently ask me, they were buying a camera and they said, "Do mirrorless cameras have shutters? That is that even important?" And the answer to that is yes, that is still important for mirrorless cameras. So
We had to Google it,
we had to
but it
Google
was
it.
good.
We had to ask a couple questions, but you know what? We are the first ones to say we don't know everything and we have to use Google and call the experts as well. So we're
Google
just
and
sharing that
AI.
information with
I'm
others
telling
who also
you.
don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Don't ever feel bad about having to Googling something. It's,
That's
you
what it's
know,
there for, right?
it's
That's
what it's
right.
there for.
All
That is
right.
what
I
it's
think
there
that's
for.
the end of this episode. So, Thank you, everyone, for joining us. For more fun from Cowgirls with Cameras, head to cowgirlswithcameras.com. Check out how you can join us at an event this year. I don't know how many spaces we have left at this point. I think as of right today, we might have 2 spaces left at Trappers, but like I said, we're speaking into the future. So by the time this episode comes out, maybe not. You'll have to check the website. You can also find us online at Cowgirls with Cameras on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget, at the top of the episode, we talked about our new hopping Cowgirls with Cameras community that you can come hang out and say hello at cowgirlswithcameras.com community. No, cowgirlswithcameras.community.
There you go. You got it that time.
Got it that time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Cowgirls with Cameras. Don't let the laughter and learning stop here. Join our community on social media and be sure to visit our website for more opportunities to fulfill your photography goals. Head to cowgirlswithcameras.com. That's cowgirlswithcameras.com. See you next time.